currently in the game, the Wizard is considered to be one of the highest rated classes in the entire game, if not the highest rated class. Now, I've been playing the Wizard for a few days to give it a try, and I think I've figured out exactly why the Wizard is currently rated as the best class in the game. Let's break it down. Now, there's two things in the game that are currently extremely important. Number one is trash mob clearing. So when you go out to do things like this, killing trash mobs, grinding legendary items from just killing trash mobs, or even, let's say, things like dungeon farming, okay? Basically, killing PvE monsters is maybe the most important part about the game, because we know if we want more and more triple drops, you got to kill more and more monsters, right? PvP doesn't typically drop legendary items very often, okay? So we're all out there farming to try to get the best legendary drops, typically in places like the overworld, which is why I have so many farming location guides, or in places like the dungeon to be able to complete these set piece items, which we'll talk about the sets in here in just a moment. However, the Wizard is quite good at overworld farming, but that is not the only reason that it's so popular. It's great at overworld farming, yes, but there's another problem with the other classes. Typically, you'll get classes that are good at one thing. Like, let's say the Wizard's good at overworld farming, or the Crusader's good at making sure everybody in your party has crit chance, and so is therefore maybe the best dungeon class in the game. The Barbarian's really good at diving in and not dying and being an annoying front line for people in PvP, etc. Well, the Wizard, there's a problem. The Wizard is the best in both spots at the two most important things in the game, which we've already covered overworld farming. We've talked that one to death. But PvP is the other part of the game, because it basically breaks down to PvE, including dungeons, which Wizard's fantastic in, overworld farming, in which Wizard's fantastic in, and then after that, it breaks down to PvP. Well, the thing is, in PvP, Wizard is currently considered maybe the best class in the entire game. So we have a class that is, in fact, I don't know how much of a maybe there is about it. It seems to be pretty much agreed upon that Wizard at the moment is insane in PvP for a couple reasons. You have the Black Hole, which is a ridiculous CC, okay? But you also have the Ice Crystal with the Disintegrate that has some hilarious combos where you're stacking damage, but more importantly, the range. So if I put this all the way over here, Disintegrate this, walk just enough where it hits the beam, it's then going beyond the beam and going all the way further to like out here. Now the problem is, if I'm standing over all the way here where I can't even see my enemy, when I shoot that beam and it hits somebody else over here, that beam is literally invisible to them. So in PvP, we have invisible laser beams. If you ever wonder why you're just melting and you can't see the damage, but there's an ice crystal ways away from you, you're probably getting hit by an invisible PvP laser beam. Now I'm sure they're gonna fix the invisibility part of it, but it doesn't fix the range part of it as it's working as designed, and the actual damage part of it is quite ridiculous too. But it gets worse in both PvE and PvP, or better depending upon how you look at it. The Torn Soul, aka the Grace set, okay? Continual, channeled, and persistent ground damage is increased by 15%. So it has a set that's perfect because channel damage is Disintegrate. It is the Ray of Frost. It's the ones you're going to be using in PvP, and continual and ground damage is the Ice Crystal. So you have a wombo combo, not to even mention the Black Hole before we get into it. Each time you damage an individual 5 times, you will deal additional damage to that enemy. So we have another additional proc of damage off of a move we're already going to be using literally anyway as the best move. Then when you have the 6-piece set, you have a chance of doing this giant AoE that not only can hit up to 100,000 damage we've seen in PvE. There's screenshots of people hitting 100k damage without even that high of stats, just like I can hit 100k with Howlers, for instance. But it also stuns, okay? So you have a stun built into it as well. Granted, it's every 40 seconds, but you have a nuke built into continual damage. So what we're seeing currently is we're seeing some disgusting PvP builds where you have the Black Hole with Ice Crystal and Disintegrate and Teleport, where you can teleport around. And there's even an ability that after you teleport, it leaves another person who channels a Ray of Frost as a mirror, and that person can channel into the crystal, and then you've got this whole wombo combo. It is actually very ridiculous at the moment. So what we end up having, folks, the reality of this situation boils down to, we have somebody who is maybe the best class in the entire game in overworld farming. We have somebody who's not the best class in the entire game in dungeon farming, just one of the better ones. Then we have maybe the best class in the entire game for PvP farming. And we haven't even talked about the mobility side of things, where teleport is the best mobility move in the game. It goes Overwalls, it counts as a blink, not a dash. You're not going through people, okay? The only competitive one is the monk that has the triple dash that drags people along with you. I would rather have the teleport. And that's before we even get into like the quality of the legendaries, where the wizard themselves have a good amount of different legendaries you can try. You can create the one that does an ice shield. They have multiple versions of shields, so you can even try tanky builds. If you wanted to go a 6-piece Mount Bank set, then go the Ray of Frost with the ice shield, then the actual ice armor, etc. You can go some pretty fat shields too, and then that with a Phoenix Ashes, and you could really have a pretend DPS mage that's actually a tank. There's some different builds you can go that give you some variety and more fun play styles, even if, and this is important, even if it's not the #1 meta, it's always good to have some variety available, at least in case you do get bored and at a minimum want to try something else that's not all the same. Whereas with Necromancer, I felt way more pigeonholed into only 2 different builds. I had Corpse Explosion and I had the Summons build, but they all had very obvious synergy. You only work them together. I feel like my options for those 3rd and 4th abilities are a little bit more varied as a wizard. This is a small thing, but personally, I actually find them to be one of cosmetically the better looking classes as well. I really like the purple vibe, the purple electricity that's got going on. I don't have them all matching right because I'm just using kind of whatever pieces I've got as I just got the wizard. But I do actually find the cosmetics of the wizard to be appealing as well. So if you're somebody who cares about looks, that's just something else to keep in mind. This is just one man's opinion. I don't think the wizard is the best in the game at literally everything, but I can see an argument for it being the best class or one of the best classes currently right now in the meta for the reasons I mentioned. Let me know what you think about the wizard, if you're enjoying it. If you're asking me if I would recommend the wizard, if you're considering it, yes, I do recommend the wizard. I'm enjoying it. I do not regret my swap. I will have quite a good time with the wizard as compared to some of the unfortunate times I've had in the past with some of the other classes like Barbarian and Monk, for instance. I'm actually quite enjoying this one. So for today, from me, it's a thumb up, especially if you're coming from Necromancers to your set items for transfer. That's just one man's opinion, though. I'll see you in the next video.